I was scared of the original cartoon. I think I watched it once and then I never picked it up again. I watched it for the first time in probably 16, 17 years.
Nothing has brought me greater joy than watching the Walt Disney Company absolutely panic over the last few weeks. They're mad at South Park because they're making fun of their woke ideologies, constantly race swapping or religion swapping everything in their movies.
And when South Park took aim at Rachel Zegler and Disney's Snow White disaster, they didn't just roast her, they obliterated her. The episode was pure chaos, exaggerated, brutal, and terrifyingly close to reality. What started as skepticism over her casting turned into a full-blown internet explosion. South Park took every fan complaint, every viral soundbite, and turned it into a cultural grenade. Rachel's name shot to the top of the trending charts. And it wasn't because of her acting.
One major development going on now involves more to do with Rachel Zegler and her attitude towards South Park Studios and Paramount after learning about what they are planning for their upcoming special called the DEI Special.
Internet went nuclear. Memes were everywhere. Clips from the episode were chopped, remixed, and shared nonstop. Some people laughed until they cried. Others couldn't even finish the clips. Secondhand embarrassment was that bad. But everyone had an opinion, and the wildest twist? South Park didn't even need to write new jokes. They just exaggerated Rachel's real interviews. Every cringe moment from her press tour was turned into comedy gold. What started as PR became pop culture carnage.
The last time I had the dream, I was walking down the school hallway. And that's when I started to notice that something's wrong. Everyone I cared about has been systematically replaced. And finally, I want to scream, and I'm like, why are they replacing every single character with someone who is diverse?
South Park didn't portray Rachel as a misunderstood actress. No, they turned her into a rampaging cartoon monster, ranting about equity, rewriting fairy tales, and steamrolling anyone who dared speak up. She wasn't just critical, she was furious, dismissing romance, tradition, and anything resembling the classic Snow White. The satire hit so hard because it mirrored the very thing fans had been accusing her of for months. This wasn't just a parody, it was a weapon.
If everything worked perfectly, it would have been almost impossible for this movie to succeed because you're comparing it to one of the most beloved films of all time and a truly groundbreaking movie.
The uncomfortable part. A lot of what cartoon Rachel said came straight from real interviews, word for word. That made it hit different. South Park didn't invent this version, they simply amplified it. And while execs and cast members in the episode stood frozen, unsure whether to speak or run, fans online were already shouting. Rachel's image went from rising star to Hollywood cautionary tale. And that was before the fallout really started.
The original production, I was scared of it. Oh, it was so weird. It was a stalker. Like, I feel like if you are taking on the most iconic Disney role ever, genuinely, like this was the most prolific Disney film, I feel like you should kind of have some sort of reverence for the original production.
It was supposed to be her moment. After West Side Story, Rachel was Hollywood's new darling. Disney crowned her their bold new Snow White. The press called it visionary. She called it an honor. But fans, not so much. Backlash erupted over her constant trashing of the original film. She mocked the prince, dismissed love, and called the classic weird. And then, boom, South Park entered the chat. Suddenly, she wasn't just a lead actress. She was a symbol in a cultural war.
I don't particularly see people who, look like me or are me playing roles like that. So it was definitely when it got announced.
He wasn't a stalker, by the way.
That was like trending on Twitter for days because all of the people were angry.
When Trey Parker and Matt Stone come for you, it's never subtle. Their DI special, a brutal sequel to Panderverse, didn't just roast Rachel and Disney. It dissected them. Every line had layers, mocking casting choices, media spin, Disney's obsession with optics. Their version of Rachel wasn't a cartoon. It was a megaphone, echoing every controversial quote she's ever made. This wasn't comedy. It was cultural surgery, and it left Disney bleeding.
No longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White.
That laugh.
That is
not going to be saved by
You
the
wrote
prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be. The original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her.
Say it louder so your other eye can hear you.
Behind the scenes, Rachel was devastated. Sources say she didn't just feel mocked, she felt attacked. To her, this wasn't satire. It was a targeted hit on her identity, her values, her fight for inclusion. She saw her mission turned into a joke. And Disney? Instead of defending her, they hit the mute button. Total silence. No press, no tweets, no SNL. The studio didn't want more flames. They wanted a cover-up. And Rachel, she felt abandoned.
Our rights are on the line, folks.
The right to buy Cosby sweaters?
Come on.
That's the face of a serial killer.
And if you disagree with this sentiment, just hit the unfollow button.
Disney HQ went into panic mode. The South Park parody wasn't just viral, it was viral dynamite. Executives reportedly yanked Rachel from every press appearance. The official excuse? Scheduling conflicts. But insiders say she went radioactive, and it couldn't have come at a worse time. Bob Iger was already trying to fix a studio in chaos. Marvel flops, Disney Plus losses, and now this. The Snow White remake had become ground zero for everything, going wrong at Disney.
This started with the movie star Rachel Zegler, who I believe would be categorized as a loudmouth dope.
And that is why we hate the diversity, equity, and inclusion casting and writing in movies.
In addition to that, there was already an uproar about her being cast as Snow White because she is not Caucasian. She is a Latina, she is half Colombian, and so people were like, why were you cast in the first place? We just had a black Little Mermaid, now we're having a Latina Snow White, and she is literally called Snow White. This doesn't make sense. Yeah, the entire film's about a love story. It's about a love story because that's what the point of the film is, and I'm sorry that chivalry and a man pursuing you is now deemed as stalking, which now it's kind of making sense why men are opting out of the dating scene. As an actor, you don't get to dictate anything. You don't get to dictate if a film actually happens. You don't get to dictate when it is shot, how it is shot, if you can ever speak about it to the public. You are simply just there to show up and say your lines and look the way they want you to look.
This isn't just about a remake. It's about what happens when modern messaging collides with classic nostalgia. It's about fans who feel betrayed, studios that lost control, and a billion-dollar brand scrambling to save face. Rachel Zegler went from rising star to the face of a cultural clash. Whether you loved her or hated her, you felt it. And with rumors of another South Park episode targeting Bob Iger himself, the firestorm might only be heating up. So what do you think? Is this just a messy evolution in storytelling? Or did Disney finally break the magic that made their classics untouchable? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you live for drama, parodies, and pop culture breakdowns, subscribe, turn on notifications, and buckle up. This ride's far from over.